Load it up, Carl. This shit feel like game 7. Put lines up through my S's. Wake up in the morning, count my blessings.
Welcome to the Money Down. We got our guy, former Badger teammate Beau Allen.
Butter King.
Butter King, yeah. Kicking it with us tonight, man. Appreciate you taking some time out with us. You know, whenever we have a guest on, we like to kind of go back to the beginning. So, why don't you take us back to Minnetonka, Minnesota? It's funny because Minnetonka, first time I ever heard of that was Dave Chappelle. You know, Lake Minnetonka, that whole little skit. So, take us back there, a little bit of high school football. How'd you end up at Wisconsin?
I don't want to brag too much, James, but I was the 2009 homecoming king at Minnetonka High School. Pretty big deal, but you know how it is, man. Like, played football in Minnetonka. I wasn't, part of like an elite program down in Florida, like some of us. I was a 4-year starter as a nose guard at Minnetonka High School, which was like, dude, I started playing football in 7th grade and then ended up starting as a freshman on the varsity team playing nose guard. And I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I did all the, the camp circuit and stuff like that. Went to Badger football camp my sophomore year, ended up having a good camp. And then Bob Bostad recruited me. He's a beauty. A great recruiter, really personable guy. Everyone that went to Wisconsin probably understands what I'm talking about there. But I was kind of always destined to go to Madison. Like, my uncle played football there in the 80s. My grandpa was an All-American swimmer at Wisconsin. My parents met there. So it was kind of always, I went through the recruiting process, but in the back of my mind, I kind of was always set on Wisconsin. And obviously, went, committed to Wisconsin, I think my senior year, and the rest is history. Met you fine folk, and we had some good football teams.
Was it ever any flack from, Minnesota fans or even in your town for leaving the state and going to the rivalry state school?
Yeah, definitely, man. Like, you know how it is. Minnesota and Wisconsin, big rivals. Like, don't really like each other too much. So I got a lot of shit for it. We can swear on this podcast.
Yeah.
My mom will watch this, James. She'll be so disappointed.
Yeah, we were just talking about this the other week.
I try to sense myself a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of, hate for going to Wisconsin, but I think, Gophers fans don't like us at Wisconsin for a reason. Like, we, at that period in time, we hadn't lost the axe in, like, I don't even know, like, I had to look this up. It was like 17 years or something like that. It's obviously a big rivalry. And, I left the home state and I went to Wisconsin. I don't regret it ever. Like, I'm very happy I didn't go to Minnesota. I'm sure you guys feel the same way about your experience at Wisconsin. I wouldn't have done anything differently.
So what is it about Madison that makes it such a special place for you?
Dude, I love Madison, man. My whole family went to college there. Like, my sister met her future husband there. My parents met there. I was kind of always destined to go to Madison. My uncle played football there in the 80s. My grandpa was an All-American swimmer there. So the family ties were strong for me. But other than that, like, it's just a great spot, man. Great campus. I think it's an unbelievable college atmosphere. Like, we were there a couple weeks ago for the Bama game, James, and I feel like we missed out on a lot, strangely, because of, how much time we devoted to football. But every time I go back, I feel like I kind of have a slightly different experience. Like, when we're there in school, like, we're focused on football. We're kind of like going to the same spots. And then after I've graduated, like, check out like the Capitol more, or like, I don't know, some of the different parts of Madison that you don't get to see as a student. I'm like, man, this is an awesome place. So just a great combination of a good school, great athletic program, good people, and I don't know, stuff like that, man. There's so many good things we can all say about it. I think you guys kind of know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, so me, James, and Warren, we often like to go back and think of like battles or games that we played in that you can kind of, sit back and reminisce on. What's a game in college or a matchup in college that you really enjoyed, and when you sit down at night, you like, damn, that was a fun atmosphere to play in, or damn, that was a good matchup that, I got to enjoy that battle. What's a game like that for you back in college?
Yeah, you got to reminisce about the glory days when you're washed up. I don't know. Such a good stretch. Like, the Rose Bowl experiences was really cool. Obviously, we didn't win those games, but I always think about the smell of that football field, as weird as that sounds. Like, the Rose Bowl
Really?
is unbelievable, man. even though we lost those games, like still a really cool experience. And then just kind of all the hoopla involved and having your family come to those games was sweet. But as far as like individual games, the when we beat Ohio State when they were ranked number 1, and Gil had that kickoff return to open it up, and it was a night game, like that was sick. I think about that the Badger versus Iowa game at Kinnick when Monty scored. Like
20 and 2010. Yeah, that was crazy.
That was a really good one. When we blew the brakes off Nebraska, that was awesome because I think no one really expected that. So those, I mean, man, I'm trying to think.
It's a lot of them.
Hey, good teams, boys. Come on. I mean, those are kind of the ones that stick out to me a little bit. Like, yeah, I mean that Iowa game, like we that was probably one of the better. That was our sophomore year, James, right?
Yeah.
That was a fun game, man. I feel like Kinnick was always a really fun place to play too because their bleachers were like right up
there.
Then fans would just be like shit talking us the whole game, and it was always really loud too. So that was a fun one
for sure. And I was a big topic of discussion now. I know they even asked Luke Fickell about the former players critiquing the status of the team and everything right now. What's your thoughts on the current state of the Badgers and what do you need to see from them moving forward?
It's tough, man, because like you want to obviously like we all support the team. We want them to succeed, so it almost comes from a place of love. It's like tough a little bit. I didn't watch as much of the USC game as I probably should have. I got a little frustrated and turned to some other football. I think it's just different. It's just different. It just feels like a very different Badger football team than kind of what we've been accustomed to, right? With the air raid and things like that. But I try to think of all the challenges involved with the college football atmosphere these days, and I can't even imagine what it's like. Like, just kind of gossiping with some of the other alumni that were back. The price tag that some of these recruits and transfer portal guys are demanding in today's college football area is like absurd to me. It's like more than my rookie deal. And so that's just kind of not how we've operated. Like we've always been a team that kind of recruits underrated players almost and develops them and plays our own specific brand of football. So I think, I don't know. I'm trying to be a little bit patient and understand some of all the variables involved with college football these days because it just seems so bizarre. Like it's almost like free agency every single year.
Every year.
So I don't know how you can entice a guy from South Florida, James, like a big time recruit to come up to Madison without paying them a bag.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of got to do.
That's the nature of it. And I think it's hard for us too because we're dealing with the new NIL stuff, and then we're doing a complete 180 of what we were doing before, trying to like find our identity. So it's really tough. You know what I mean? With all this transition going on for our program and college football, we're kind of getting caught in the whirlwind with it all. And like I said, I think we got to be a little bit more patient. I think next year will be a huge year. Let Fickell get, some more of his recruits in there, find some more of the guys that really fit their scheme, and hopefully, it looks better, moving forward. But I think we all just got to be a little bit more patient. But we're just so used to having so much success, as us, as players. But I think they're going through something completely different than what we ever, been through as college players. I'll say that.
I think the thing I always wonder about is like think about the relationships that we all built together, being together for 3-4 years and things like that. It's like, how do you have the same kind of camaraderie and like locker room if a guy is in a bad situation? He's like, I'm out of here. Or if a guy plays really well and he's like, hey, this other school is offering me like $500,000 to go play there. It's like, how do you have the same kind of college experience? It's just hard to grasp sometimes for old washed up Beau.
and like now too, it's like a lot of times you see it. Week 4 in college football is a huge week because you can play 4 games now and then you can transfer. So a lot of these dudes are monitoring their reps, they're monitoring, their snap count and all of that. And week 4, the things ain't looking good for me. You see the messages on Instagram. I'm leaving this program to go to such and such. Like, I appreciate the time. So it's real. The players have full control of this thing. So
but think about Think about the running back rooms that you were a part of.
Yeah.
I would have left, man.
They say, at least one or two of us might. I probably been gone after Monty's Heisman campaign. I'm sure I might have. If somebody threw some money at me, I might have went somewhere else, to be honest.
These are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who have the opportunity to make more money than 99% of America. So it's hard to. It's interesting, man. College football is in such an interesting place. I'm really interested to see if it continues to, if there are more rules or if a players union forms. I'm not sure how that would even happen, but it is wild watching college football these days, man. Because I'm sure you guys do this, but I compare everything back to the experience I had when we were in school, and it just seems so different.
Different, yeah. So, Beau, I want to shift it back to you. Kind of tell us, when did it become, visible for you that all right, I was going to get drafted? And then how was it getting drafted by such a staple franchise in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, and being kind of molded by BG and Fletcher Cox, two Eagle legends, two big dogs at the position?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really know if I was going to get drafted or not. I got drafted in the 7th round. Obviously, I'm incredibly happy about that, and it worked out. But I think I remember when Bielema left after our junior year, James, and it's like you get a new head coach, a new defensive scheme at the time, and I was like, well, let me just see what my draft status would be, because you can submit something to see what you'd be drafted. And I remember seeing something like, you wouldn't get drafted. I was like, all right, cool. So I stayed with Anderson, obviously, and played out the senior year. And then I actually didn't graduate. So I had 12 credits left. I was in the business school at Madison. And basically, I could have taken class and trained in Wisconsin for the pro day. I didn't get invited to the combine. But I was like, listen, if I have this one opportunity to pursue my dream, play in the NFL, I can't stay in Madison and do my classes too, because I'm just gonna be too distracted. I'm gonna be at bacon night and shit like that.
Mondo's bacon night,
And I ended up, leaving my spring semester. I had 13 credits on the table, I think, something like that, and trained down in Florida. I was like, I got to go somewhere and just kind of lock myself away and really train. Didn't get invited to the combine, like I said. So I had a good pro day. I had a ton of pre-draft visits. I can't even remember, man, top 30 visits. I think I went on, I don't know, man, 9 or something. And then teams came and worked me out too, which was low-key a grind. The Patriots games came. And
I already know that was real.
I was gassed after that one. I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was anyone I was there with at the end of my career. But I honestly didn't really think I was going to get drafted. And then, when the day of the draft comes, you're just you're staying ready for a call. And I remember I got so many calls in the 5th round from teams who were like, hey, we're not drafting you, but we want you to keep your options open for a free undrafted free agent. I was like, all right, yeah, cool.
I'm not trying to hear that right now.
Ended up getting a call from a 215 number. I was so stressed. I was down in my basement. My whole family was upstairs, and I heard them hooting and hollering and stuff like that, because my name came across a ticker before I even got the call, which was kind of weird, but it was.
Yeah, it's weird.
But then I went to Philly, obviously, as a rookie, and as a rookie, I kind of adopted the philosophy that I learned in Wisconsin, which is don't say shit and just show up and work hard, and don't ruffle any feathers. Keep your head down and do whatever you have to do to try to play, basically. And kind of when you mentioned Sojourners, a lot of dudes were really cool to me as a rookie, which I was surprised by, frankly. And it was guys in my room like BG and Fletcher, like you mentioned. It's funny though, because they kind of don't fuck with you until you can prove that you can play. You might be in the rotation. Let me help you out with some stuff, so you don't really fuck me over when I'm in there.
I need you in this gap, sorry.
But also, it's funny because a lot of guys D'Amico Ryans was a linebacker when I was a rookie nose guard, and so he would tell me stuff mid play, hey, double team coming over here. I'm like, yes, thank you. I need to But yeah, like so many guys were so cool to me when I was rookie. And even guys not even on my side of the ball, like Brent Selleck is a tight end for the Eagles, really cool. Kelsey was really cool. Evan Mathis is an O-lineman that I would like work with and practice, and we talk about really specific technique stuff. I did that with Kelsey too, like after practice and things like that as a young player. And that stuff is so helpful, man. But even like outside of football stuff, like just sitting down with the dudes, like in the cafeteria or in the locker room or in the cold tub, and just kind of like learning from them about how to take care of your body, how to limit distractions, like dumb shit, like how to places to go in the city that you're in that you've never been before, like it just makes you feel so much more comfortable in your new environment, in your new team. So like, I really appreciate that. I always try to kind of, like those guys are so cool to me and good to me most of the time. And I adopt that same philosophy later in my career with younger players. I'm sure you kind of experience the same thing. It's like you guys that are good to you, like you want to kind of, honor that and pass that along later in your career when you're in that kind of same position.
100%. And, name our podcast called the Money Down Podcast. And whenever we have somebody on, we like to ask them about their money down moments. We know money downs and, football, third down in the game situations. We think it applies to life too.
Third down, dude.
Yes, sir. What moment, in your life outside of football or in football do you feel like you had to bet on yourself, go all in to get where you need to be?
Well, I mean, I feel like I kind of mentioned it. It's just dropping out of school and focusing really on training was one. That's kind of when I was really like, if I'm going to do this, like I really need to go all in. And that's what it is. I mean, I feel like, how it is when you're a rookie and I think my mind kind of went there initially because I was just talking about it. But when you have that first game or whatever, the first kind of stretch of practices in camp where you're playing well and you're like, oh, I really I can play on this field. Like I belong with these guys. I think that's a big moment in your career, especially as a young player. And so I just think of that first rookie camp I had where, I was like 7th round pick. I was like, I don't know if I'm even going to make this team. And I had a good preseason. I think we played in Chicago, the first preseason game, and I played well. And I was like, oh, okay, like I can play in the NFL. Like, and it's kind of reassuring. So that's a big one. Then also we beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which is pretty
we're gonna get to
that.
True. You brought it up. That was my next question. Just what was that feeling like? You know how Super Bowls is not easy to come around and easy to be a part of. So how was that feeling for you? Just playing in that game.
I mean, I haven't won as many as James, so you should ask him. But no, it was cool. And the coolest thing for me is it was in Minnesota where I grew up. And so
I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's so rare for with football, like to have a moment like that where you see that the Super Bowl is going to be in Minnesota and it's almost like, oh, well, that'd be sick if I played in that, but then you almost kind of want to put it out of your mind because you're like, all right, let's not get too focused on that. So for that to actually come to fruition and my whole family was there and it was awesome, man. I really didn't think we were going to beat you guys, James. Like we could not stop you on defense.
we couldn't stop you guys.
I remember sitting on the sideline halfway through that game, being like, "We are about to be the most hated defense in the history of Philadelphia sports." Shit, we can't get one stop, and thankfully we got literally one stop, and it was a money down moment, for BG.
BG made that play.
Hey, not to cut you off, Beau, but being hometown, we all know how much those Super Bowl tickets cost. Even if you are a part of the game, did you had to drop some cash, or it was?
I know.
And you're at home too. You in hometown,
so you get 10 tickets. Trying to think of the right way to put this so I don't get anybody in trouble. Let's just say I was a little bit of the best king for that stretch because there was some that Matt was able to help procure me some tickets. I don't know if
you have a show.
I dropped a lot of money on tickets, and I was trying to be cool with my family. I was like, yeah, whoever, I got you guys. You don't need to spend tickets. I'll get you guys all tickets. And then my mom was like, yeah, my grandma's gonna go. Like, I'm gonna go with Dad. Like, your uncles are going. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, totally. But I was able to get like 16 tickets to the game, which was really cool. And then I done a favor for one of like the CFO of the Eagles. I filmed some stupid commercial or something for him, and he's like, "Hey, I know you probably need tickets for this. Like, I get you access to 10 more tickets." And I was like, "Thank you so much." Frank Gameni, who's the CFO for the Birds, really helped me out and got me access to some more tickets, and it was great. But yeah, like I said, like my whole family was there, a bunch of cousins, aunts, uncles, my grandma, a bunch of my boys from high school. So it was a cool thing, man.
No, that's dope. And speaking of that year, it's kind of like what's going on right now in the NFL. A bunch of these quarterback injuries. What was it like for you guys? Carson Wentz goes down. Was there ever like a drop in faith when Nick Foles stepped in there, or do you guys already have the ultimate confidence based on what you've seen for him in practice and anything prior?
Well, we all had a lot of faith in Nick just because he'd been very successful in his career. Like at one point in Philly, I think he had like 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions one season, and but more than that, like he's just an unbelievable guy. Like such a good leader, one of those guys who like he just kind of is who he is. He's super comfortable with himself and just a very genuinely good dude that really resonated with everyone in the locker room. So I think like when Carson initially got injured, we were playing in LA against the Rams. Obviously that was like he was like the league MVP at the time. It was the league of our team. He was balling, yeah. And we're like, fuck, like what else is there to say? But then I think like we had one of those years kind of where something like that happens and we weren't really too like we were shook, you know what I mean? Like obviously really hurting for Carson, just because we know like how good he was and how important he was to our team and how much he was hurt like physically and emotionally by that injury. But then it's like, all right, like we gotta still make this thing happen. And I think after that maybe we played the Raiders at home like right around Christmas. We were able to just get a lot of confidence from the rest of the guys in the locker room and kind of overcome that, which was really cool. And then thankfully, like when you play good football in the playoffs, you know this, James, like it just kind of gives you so much confidence and so much juice. And that kind of really helped, bring us together as a team too.
Bo, did you grow up a Minnesota Viking fan at all? Because y'all destroyed them in the NFC Championship that year. And I was gonna say you went on a run. If you was a Viking fan,
I was a Packers fan growing up, actually. Which is
so you probably had beef all growing up in Minnesota, man.
But I was like a Vikings fan kind of too because I loved the Vikings D line when I was in like high school, like Pat and Kevin Williams and Jared Allen, like these guys that I loved, and then like all my buddies, are Vikings fans, so they were like shit talking me before the NFC Championship game, which was in Philly. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna come in and I'm gonna wear like my Vikes jersey to the game." I was like, "No, don't do that."
People are fans crazy.
People always say Eagles fans are like the worst and like assholes at the games, but like I'm sure they're not. I'm like, no, seriously, don't do that. Like a skull chant outside the Rocky statue in Philly. I was like, you guys. I remember seeing that on Twitter and just thinking to myself, like, you guys have no idea what you're getting into. And that's probably one of my favorite home games I've ever played in. Like it was, night game, NFC Championship in our stadium. Like it was probably the loudest I've ever heard the link, and that was a cool game. But to like, they obviously want to win because then they would have played the Super Bowl in their home stadium, which was like brand new. US Bank was like brand new, like they all wanted that. So to beat them at our place, like that was pretty sweet. Money down for sure.
Yeah, definitely money down. And what was I know I always say, some of the best parts of the Super Bowl is the parade and everything. To be a part of Philly's first Super Bowl championship, what was that like? I'm sure you guys partied for weeks.
Dude, I went over to Kelsey's house before and we started drinking at like 7 a.m. just because. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome, man. I didn't get to experience as much of the Super Bowl afterglow in Philly as I kind of wanted to, just because I was so then I like in March I signed, and it's a short off season when you Super Bowl, man. You're like parade, you're like celebrate, you're living the life. That's like, oh shit, like OTA in like 2 weeks. I had a new team I had to go down to. But no, the parade was awesome, man. I remember thinking like, it was like, dude, it was crazy. Like there were so many people, and it was something that was really cool. I had a GoPro strapped to my head that I wore all day, and I like have that footage archived. I haven't watched it yet. I'm sitting where I'm like an old man. I like, I'll dust that thing off and like plug it in and check it out. But I mean, that was such a cool, like Philly really showed out. Like that was so fun.
Yes. Oh, you got it, James. Go ahead.
No, this kind of a random question. Me and Soul just talking about this. We seen a little clip on social media of some semi-pro people playing on social media. So how much would it take? This is for both of y'all. How much would it take for either one of y'all to go out there and play in a semi-pro game? Them dudes be out there. They out there hitting too like that.
One clip. I don't know if this is the same league, but like they weren't wearing pads. It was just
seen that too.
Like a crack block, and the guy got absolutely bent in half. And I was like, "What is going on, man?" No, I remember like with the XFL and the AFL stuff. Oh, this is it.
Look at this.
Oh yeah.
Look.
Yes.
Bro, it's insane. These dudes really out here hitting like.
The same reaction.
Tell you what, I'll for free if you do it with me, James.
Hey, I'll play a quarter. I don't know if I can play a whole game.
Play like right guard or something.
Yeah, I'll play defense. I'll play defense.
Bro. Like that was the old me. I'll play tight end or something. I don't know.
No, and no way.
Yeah. Those dudes do that and then just wake up and like feed their kid.
And gotta go to work. And gotta go to work tomorrow. Like that's ridiculous.
The game, dude.
Yeah, that's pure love for the game.
Good for them. I got pickleball. That's what I do. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got, boys. Like video game pickleball.
Bo, talk to us a little bit about the transition between going from one organization, and I kind of have to get adjusted and understand that teams, this team might be ran one way and the other team is totally different, and getting adjusted within the building. Yeah, man, it's hard.
I was with 3 different teams. I didn't actually play for the Patriots, James. Pretty big bummer for me, but it's weird, man. You feel like you almost feel like a rookie all over again. Like you sign with the team in free agency, and you kind of need to reinvent yourself, figure out your role. And it's also like dumb stuff. You gotta meet everyone. You gotta learn the layout of a new city. There's just so much involved with going to a new organization, man. And it's like, it's hard to adjust, honestly. It takes a little bit of time. So I have so much respect for guys who have played for like Fitz, Ryan, he's played for like 17 different teams. He has 7 kids. It's like, how do you do that, man? I played with him in Tampa, and he's an awesome guy. But yeah, man, it's really hard. You gotta figure out a new role, and some stuff you might have done in one team on one specific scheme. Like maybe you played a side, or like you had your guys in your room and you all kind of knew each other and your play style and things like that. And you need to completely learn not only a new scheme and get comfortable with different coaching and things like that, but also like everything else involved, around the facility, around the city, and things like that. So it's definitely a big adjustment.
Yeah. And speaking of transitions, what is Bo up to these days? Football's over. Maybe podcasting a little bit, but let the world know what you're up to.
Yeah, I do a lot, man. I'm doing some side quests lately.
Video game.
But I'm doing so I work with Chris Long. You're with Chris in New England.
Awesome. Yeah.
Got Greenlight Podcast. Come on the pod sometime, bro. We'd love to have you. But we do a live show on Monday. We go over every game from the Sunday slate, and then kind of along with that, I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate the intricacies of like interior offensive and defensive line play. Like your average fan kind of has no idea, in my opinion. So I do kind of really specific technique breakdowns for like D linemen and O linemen that I like to watch and put those out on the Greenlight YouTube channel. Those are called Butter Breakdowns. They're pretty fun. I have a lot of freedom to kind of watch whatever I want. I watched Dare actually last.
Balling.
Yeah, he's balling.
Cutting up.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to, and then just I'm trying to do some stuff I feel like I didn't really get the opportunity to do while I was playing. Travel a lot. Went to Italy for a couple of weeks, which was sweet.
Sweet. That's one of my favorite places, man.
I ate so much food. I do a lot of random stuff, man. Play pickleball, work out a ton. That's it, man.
I see you on Instagram loading that bar up, bro. I mean, come on, man.
Proud,
Damn, bro. Bo got weight on like he about to go out there and play on,
Hey, ready, man. I don't know. I might get a call.
So you're watching the film. What defensive lineman are you most intrigued by in the league right now?
I'm trying to think of maybe some underrated guys. I mean, I love the big nose guy. Like I love Dexter Lawrence. I think he plays so hard for a big man. Like he's huge. I love watching guys I played with too. So like Vita.
Yeah, he's balling too.
He's balling tonight.
He just had a sack third football, and they fucked up the slide pro, James. So like
the back was on him. Yes.
Like, no luck with that.
Like, you do cut him, Like I don't even know. Like
you got that A gap, you're stuck. You're
screwed, dude.
Stuck, man.
So that's one. I'm trying to think of some of the other young guys I like to watch. Braden Fisk is a second round for the state. He had a good game against the Bears, and then he's with his college teammate Verse too. I like watching him. I like that young buck Sweat for the Titans. He's another big nose guard. I've been watching him a lot. But yeah, like I like watching D linemen, man.
Yeah.
So definitely a position that you got to be able to, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be able to have a strong D line in the league, especially to win nowadays. But I wanted to ask you, right? Like I know this might be a little touchy subject, but what do you think is wrong with Philly? I mean, it's a lot going on these last two seasons.
The organization.
No, not even just the play. Like it just seemed like something off. We don't, But how do you assess it?
I think they got really surprised by the Bucks, frankly. But like, there's a lot of drama in Philly. You know what I mean? Always, and that comes with a big media team. And it feels like 2-2, the sky is falling and things like that. And like, don't get me wrong, they didn't look good against Tampa. But I think the Bucks actually played a really good game offensively. Like Baker came out and they were moving the ball in the first quarter. I think they need to get healthy, first of all. So like AJ Brown, like one of the best wide receivers in the league, he's injured.
Monte.
Lane. So they have a bye this week. I'm hoping they can come back, get some of those dudes back, be healthy. And then also just like, I really just think like this is fucking dumb and really basic. If you just have a nice game and just a solid win, everything will settle into place. People will stop pointing fingers. There won't be so much scrutiny from the media, from people in the building, outside of the building, things like that. So I don't know. I guess I'm trying to hit everyone in Philly with the old Aaron Rodgers, like,
chill out, relax.
Still early, a lot of football at the play.
Too, man. Like, James, this. Bill says this. Like, football doesn't matter until like end of the season, the playoffs, man.
Yeah. November when the real football starts.
Exactly. Yeah, you sound like Bill.
I can't help myself, man.
So, just try to get healthy, try to stick to the fundamentals and just go. I mean, I think there are some things schematically that they could clean up. For some reason, Jalen doesn't look as mobile to me this season as he has in the past. And I'm not sure if that's just because, he likes to get out of the pocket and scramble, but also escape the pocket to throw downfield. He doesn't have the same weapons to necessarily do that. But you got the best running back in the league. Just run the fuck out of the ball.
Yeah.
Jalen comfortable. And then
Oh, there it is.
Cut out.
Yeah, for a second.
Like, dude, have Saquon put the team on his back.
Yeah. Use him, man. You paying him all that money. Use
all that
him.
bread.
And then when you get the other guys back, on the outside, it obviously makes the game a lot easier too. Last question for you before we let you go. Obviously, a lot of current NFL players have their own podcasts. Darius Slay went on Micah Parsons' podcast so we can Philly fans would give him a lot of crap. What's your thoughts on that? And obviously, we don't have a problem with guys having podcasts during the season, but opposing players going on other people's podcasts during the
rivalry too.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it like this: I would never do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Same.
About it, if you're like, it's one thing if you got a buddy on another team, call him up on FaceTime and chit chat, but like go on his podcast and dog your own teammate. Personally, I would not do that. I think maybe that got blown a little bit out of proportion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't really watch it. I saw the shit about it on Twitter, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
That's what I said. That's what I always say. I said I wouldn't do it. It's just strange to see. Like I understand like guys have their own like things outside of football, but it's just you gotta play that team twice a year. And you're chopping it up. I mean, you guys are on the
advantage either.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed weird to me, but like that's kind of the world we live in.
Yeah, we in right now.
It's broadcasted, and we're on a fucking podcast right now.
Facts.
I'll be critical of it, but like for me in season, if you're coming off a loss, it's like blinders on. Like, what do I got to do to play better? So I don't know. I mean, it's a mixed bag, man. I would never go on another dude's podcast in season if he's on a rival team.
Yeah, that's what I don't think it like factors into his play or anything. It's just a weird look. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not to say like Slay's not gonna go out there and play hard or he's not doing this and that.
I thought he played well against.
Yeah.
Dude, that one ball Baker threw that he had great coverage on that. I don't know. Like, it's tough, man. And after a loss, like we all know this, like everything you do is scrutinized.
Under a microscope.
Maybe do that after a win. Maybe beat the Cowboys and then go on his podcast.
And then go on the podcast. Hey, boy,
Micah gonna go in there regardless.
I got one
podcast after you beat them.
I got one more question for you, bro.
Yeah.
Super dope nickname. Where the hell did the Butter King come from, bro?
A lot of people have been asking me that lately. Literally, this is all it is. It's just a bit that I've been like really leaning into because it came from like playing yard games at my cabin with my family. We all gave each other nicknames. I gave myself this nickname, the Butter King. And then we would like play ping pong and shit in the locker room, and I always refer to myself as the Butter King. In retirement, like I really just wanted to like, it's like a wrestling persona. Kind of. I'm buttering now, I'm not mad anymore. I'm trying to dress nice. I can actually fit in the clothes. Just try to be the Butter King. I don't know. It's just
super dope. Dope. I will say that.
I had to boot some kid off the handle. Some kid had the Instagram handle, and I like reported him a bunch.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Marketing, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what it is, man. We appreciate you joining us tonight, Beau, man.
I have a question for you, James, before we get off here. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember one of my vivid memories of the Super Bowl is I tackled you, and then you were getting up, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, James?" You're like, "Oh, what's up, Beau?" And then you back
I do remember that little outside zone.
Parents were like, "Did you say hi to James?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did actually."
I actually tackled him. Good times, man. We appreciate you taking some time out your schedule to join us. Make sure you guys check out the Green Light Podcast. Check out the Butter Breakdowns.
Yeah,
God does an awesome job with it. And keep checking out the Money Down Podcast as well.
Appreciate y'all.
Sir.